Austin, let's go over your paper. And here's my grading rubrics. You had your running head on there. Well, where is it? There it is. That was good. Your clincher paragraph on your paragraph 1 was perfect. You had your first sentence included clanging and invention, and then you had clanging and invention in your last sentence. Your second one, you had carburetor and forgotten, like in your third sentence. So we're still looking for 2 words from our first sentence to put in our last sentence. And that's why I gave you partial credit, because your clinchers are supposed to be from your first and your last sentence. And same here, you had pulled a word out of your third sentence for your clinchers, and also very doesn't count because you're looking for very descriptive words like nouns and verbs that you want to repeat at the beginning and the end. But it's a good start. And let me just go ahead and take all this formatting off. I'm going to accept all the changes. And oh, here we go. Highlighting, no color. Oh, I'm not sure how I didn't get that. I thought I could get rid of it all. Let's try again. Okay, well that's closer. I don't know how to get rid of these. Oh well. All right. So we're going to take these 3 body paragraphs and use them for our research paper. But let's go over these clinchers a little bit more before we start on the next assignment. So I can show you ideally what you should do with your clinchers. This first one's fine, and I'm going to go ahead and write in here. To me, the topic of this paragraph is fear of oil company. Let's say fear of oil companies. And we're going to be using that in a little bit. That's not something you would really include in your paper. So you have clanging. Okay, so we have 2 car enthusiasts in their garage argue about their knowledge of the Pogue carburetor. So we want something out of this sentence here. So despite their efforts, major companies cannot keep this. How about this knowledge of the Pogue carburetor silent forever? And that way I have knowledge. Let's see if I can highlight it a different color. I can't. I don't know how you highlighted that. But I have knowledge and Pogue carburetor. So I've repeated 3 words that were not adjectives or adverbs, but actual, well, Pogue is an adjective, but actual noun substance words. Despite their efforts, major companies cannot keep this knowledge of the Pogue carburetor silence forever. And right here it said until recently the topic of this carburetor has been in all car enthusiast conversation. Until recently, it seems like that doesn't make sense to me, because until recently the topic had been in almost all car enthusiast conversation. It seems to me like it should be in their conversations even more. Maybe until recently the topic of this carburetor has not been, because now that the patent's expiring, you would think they would be talking about it more. So when we do the clincher technique, we take 2 or 3 content words and repeat them from the first to the last. Let's try to work on this one. The excitement grew in Pogue's eyes as he watched his piece of machinery work right before his eyes. And we've got waiting patiently to find out how this, how about, let's call this piece of machinery works may not be very easy, the excitement, but the applications will bring excitement. So I have piece of machinery, and you have piece of machinery here, and excitement here, and excitement here. So I was able to repeat the words from the first and the last paragraph to clinch it up, to hold it all together. The excitement grew in Pogue's eyes as he watched his piece of machinery right before his eyes. And then waiting patiently to find out how this piece of machinery, we'd have to delete carburetor obviously. This piece of machinery works may not be very easy, but the applications will bring excitement. So that's the clincher technique. Remember, it's going to be the first and the last. I did like some of your changes though on it. Okay, for our next assignment, we are going to add the introductory and the conclusion paragraphs. And as I've been reading this, this is almost like a 3-paragraph essay because it seems to me like this is a good introduction. And I'm not sure if we should try to add another body paragraph or if we should start with a new topic. But let me write the topics here so we can see. And this paragraph to me is about the patent ending. And then this paragraph to me is about proven to work. So if we had to give a main idea of our paragraphs, that's what each of these paragraphs would be about. And it's important to know that if we're going to work on our introductory and conclusion. And it's almost impossible to write your introduction and conclusion until you know what you're introducing. And that's why we have to write the body paragraphs first so we know what we're introducing. And so when you write a research paper, you got to write the body first. You can't introduce something you don't know what you're writing about. But a introduction looks like this. And then it has your 3 body paragraphs. I'm going to have to scroll this up. And then our conclusion looks the opposite of our intro. So our introduction is going to start very general, and it's going to narrow down to a thesis, which is very specific. And our thesis is just like a sign that says what's coming up, like a road sign, like if this said exit 10 Fort Smith. The thesis is saying paragraph 1, fear of oil companies. Paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. So our thesis is a sign that, I think this is the patent ending. And our last paragraph was proven track record, maybe. And so we start very general and we narrow it down to our thesis. And a basic way to look at your thesis is you could say this paper will discuss, and then you'll do 1, the fear of oil companies regarding the Pogue carburetor. 2, the patent is ending on the Pogue carburetor. And 3, you're not going to really put 1, 2, and 3. I'm just doing that to make it easier to write. So this paper will discuss the fear of oil companies, or maybe you could put suppressing the Pogue carburetor by oil companies, the patent expiring on the Pogue carburetor, and the proven track record. And so when you think of a thesis, think of this statement: this paper will discuss. Now, we're not actually going to say this paper will discuss, but that's what we want our thesis to say. And our conclusion does exactly the opposite. You actually restate your thesis for your first sentence. And then you go out to some general statements. And so that is how you write your intro and your conclusions. And I'm going to go down here, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to try and kind of write us a little introduction. Let's insert another page. Okay. But it does seem to me like this is a good introduction. You have a nice decoration where you're setting the scene for the reader. And I'm thinking you could use this first paragraph as your introduction, which means you're going to have to write a paragraph about the fear of oil companies. And I'm going to leave it up to you whether you want to try and reorganize this or pick a new topic. And in a lot of ways, I think it would be easier to pick a new topic than try to revise it, because it's going to get confusing. But this is a good introduction paragraph. The thing that it doesn't have is it doesn't have a thesis statement. Okay. So I'm going to put our thesis statement. This paper will discuss the fear, how about oil company fears, patent, fears, patent expiration, and proven test of the Pogue carburetor. I don't know how to spell carburetor. Let's hope I got close enough here. I did. Okay, good. This paper will discuss the oil company's fears, patent expiration, and proven test of the Pogue carburetor. So those are your 3 paragraphs. So your first paragraph should be about oil company fears, patent expiration, and proven test of the Pogue carburetor. So that's our last sentence, but that's kind of where we're going to start. So we want to start with something very, very general. And see, this starts nice and general. But let me go ahead and think of something general. 200 miles to a gallon seems like an impossible task for a vehicle. In the future, it might be possible for cars to work efficient. No, not work. It might be possible for cars to gain this milestone. "200 miles to a gallon seems like an impossible task." So I'm trying to be very general. Now, in the future, it might be possible for cars to gain this milestone. But the technology for this astounding feat has been around for, I don't know, I'm going to put decades. I have no idea. I'm just making it up as I go. Has been around for decades in the form of the Pogue carburetor. So I'm trying to get down to what I'm going to talk about the Pogue carburetor. So I talked about the miles, that it's futuristic, but it's really been around for decades. And let's say this carburetor never made it to the market because oil companies were afraid. Pogue's patent kept others, kept companies from using the technology, and test had not been proven, test had not shown its effectiveness. You know, and I really don't know much about the carburetor. Pogue's patent kept companies from. So I'm kind of making it up, but I want to show you the point that you start with something general and you move to something specific, like listing, like, well, it actually is your thesis. This carburetor never made it to the market because oil companies were afraid. Pogue's patent kept companies from using the technology, and tests have shown its effectiveness. And then you're going to go ahead and start with your paragraph here. And actually, I kind of like the intro paragraph to be at least 5 sentences long. So when you write it, you'll have a lot more research behind you and you'll be able to write it longer. It was Pogue, Charles Nelson Pogue, who was cleanish working on his invention. He spent day and night writing up the plans and building the carburetor. He plans on building the He planned, because we're in the past tense, he planned on building a carburetor that would allow a vehicle to go 200. Will he succeed? Yes, he will. But unfortunately, gas companies will not allow. So in this paragraph, you're going to have to talk about how the gas and oil companies blocked him. And you may have to do a little bit more research. And so that's what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to get a little more organized, and your thesis statement helps you get organized. And then let's go ahead, let's pretend we had the rest of it in here, and we're going to write our conclusion. So this is kind of an example of an intro. And this is going to be an example of a conclusion, but really you have 3 body paragraphs. And our first sentence in our conclusion is going to restate our thesis. We don't want to just copy and paste it like I just did, but we want to have it here because we want to restate it in a way that lets the reader know that we're getting ready to sum this all up. And let's put oil companies fear Pogue's patent and Lack of testing kept this remarkable invention off of the market. And so I restated our thesis: oil company fears, Pogue's patent, and lack of testing. And you're going to have to go back and kind of beef up these body paragraphs. And that's why I'm saying it might be a little bit easier just to pick a new topic and start from scratch with it. But I'm going to leave that up to you. And now, when we have our conclusion, we restate our thesis, and now we're going to move out away from those 3 points into something much more general, just like we did here. We started here. And you can almost use your intro and restate it in reverse. But the technology for this astounding feat had been around for decades in the form of the Pogue Callet. The time for the technology to be used is now. The plans, along with the inventions and expertise of current engineers will bring this feat to the market. Soon, cars will be driving down the interstate for thousands of miles between gas stations. So I'm trying to go back out to general. We started with the 3 things and then bringing out to something that we can all identify with. And that's how we write the intro and conclusion. The intro, it goes from general to a thesis. The conclusion starts with the restate of the thesis and goes out to general. And your thesis is going to have your 3 points of your paragraph. When you can go ahead and use these 3 points, fear of oil companies, but you're going to have to get some more information in here about the fear of oil companies, some facts kind of to back up your claim that the oil companies were afraid of the engine. Patent pending, ending. You're going to have to get you some facts that what's going to happen, and why did Pogue get a patent on it and not let it be developed? Did he die? What happened? Did he run out of money? And then proven to work. And see, we have the president of the leading car during, he made a test then, but has it been tested today? Has anyone seen it today? So you can decide whether you want to rearrange this and kind of beef up this paper, which might be easier, or you can pick another more straightforward topic. I like what you've done with this. I like your decorations. It makes for easy reading. It also helps the reader visualize. Not sure that you want a lot of visualization in a research paper, but at the same time you don't want it to just be dry fact after fact after fact, because I can see Charles Nelson Pogue working on his invention. Sorry about that. That's been popping up all day. Okay, so your assignment is to write your intro and your conclusion following this format. If you want to change your clinchers a little bit, that's fine, or you can leave them like they are. I've already graded you on them. We'll be working on that technique in later assignments later in the semester, probably actually next semester. If you have any questions, text me or catch me when you're at Grace Academy and we can talk about your paper. Otherwise, just go ahead and start working on that, and that's the end of the video.